everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm the City Witch. Today's video I'm going to be doing a book review for you guys, and if you are new to my channel, hi and welcome, and if you've not seen any of my book reviews before, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on how I do these videos. So first of all, I will be showing you the book and talking to you about its content. I will let you know if it's a user-friendly book and easy to understand. Is it a book that I recommend for a beginner practitioner as well as an advanced practitioner? Is it worth the money that I spent on it? And I will be scoring it at the end from 1 to 10, which will give you an idea of my personal opinion on the book. I will also talk to you as we go through the book of anything I noticed, anything I disliked or liked about the book, so that I can give you my opinion on it. Now, I've had this book for about a month now, so I've had it long enough to have a chance to use it and go through it, so hopefully I can give you a really good review today. So the book is by Llewellyn, they're the publisher, and I bought the book from Amazon. Now I spent about £22 on it, which I do remember thinking was expensive at the time, but however, upon reflection and using the book and really getting to know it, I honestly think I would have spent up to £30 on this book, guys. It is worth the money I spent on it, and I do feel it's worth every penny, so long as you're paying roughly around that price range. So anywhere from £20 to £30 is a good price for this book. Now I will pop the link below so you can buy it from Amazon, but please don't feel like you have to. I'm not affiliated with them or anything, it's just where I bought it from, and I'm only providing you the link for convenience. If you want to go ahead and buy it from somewhere else or from the publisher Llewellyn, please go ahead, because it's available in many different locations. Okay, so now that said, the title of the book is Llewellyn's Complete Book of Correspondences, and it's written by Sandra Keynes. Now I'm just going to give you an introduction to her from the back of the book. So it says Sandra Keynes is an explorer of Celtic history, myth and magic, and is a member of the Order of Bards and Druids. In addition to leading healing circles and women's rituals, she is a yoga instructor and Reiki practitioner from Portland, Maine. So Sandra Keynes is a well-known spiritual writer in the witchcraft community. She does tend to write an awful lot for Wiccans and pagans, so if you are a folk practitioner or somebody that wants to practice traditional witchcraft, she may not be the right writer for you, if I'm honest. But I do like her books. I do find her quite informative and an easy read, and she's, you know, got this really light, bubbly personality to her when you do read her books, which I enjoy. I do have a number of her books, although they're not my go-tos or my favourites. They are in my collection, and I do enjoy them still. This book surprised me quite a lot, and there was a number of different points I want to make about it. So first of all, as I said, the book is by Llewellyn and written by Sandra Keynes, and the title is The Complete Book of Correspondences. Now, there is a slogan written on here which, you know, irked me just a little bit, and the slogan is a comprehensive and cross-reference resource for pagans and Wiccans. Now, as I've already mentioned, Sandra Keynes does tend to write a lot more for pagans and Wiccans, so I can see why that's been put on there, but I don't think it was necessary or needed. I think the book should have been called Llewellyn's Complete Book of Correspondences for Witchcraft or for Witches. That would have been far better, and then just eradicate that slogan completely because it wasn't needed. The layout of the book aesthetically is very pleasing, and I'll show it you in a second, guys. However, the front cover is covered with a lot of divination tools. So we have tarot, we have ruins, we have astrological and, you know, star signs, and we have a couple of symbols on here. We have a pentacle, and then I think in the background there, that's a labyrinth that's kind of faded into the design, and very cleverly done. But when I'm looking at this, I'm kind of going, there's a lot of divination tools on here for a psychic practitioner. Why wouldn't they include just a few more items that most people consider to be correspondences? So I would expect maybe a colour wheel to, you know, for colour magic, maybe a candle for candle magic, maybe some herbs, flowers, or, you know, rocks or shells, maybe some crystals. You know, those things are your go-to when you think of correspondences. I don't automatically think of a tarot as a correspondence, even though these items can be used on your altar in spells and they are considered to be a correspondence. First and foremost, they are a divination tool. And looking at this book, if you didn't read the title, you would think it was a book on divination first because of how they've designed it. So for me, I would have liked a little bit of a better design, or, you know, for it to just be thought out just a little bit better. Having said that, I do think it's aesthetically pleasing and a really nice book. I really love the oranges. It's very bright and vibrant, and it is a very pleasing book to the eye. This is the back of the book. Now, I'm not going to read it to you guys. If you want to read it, just pause the video here and have a good read. The book itself is quite weighty and also quite chunky. So I'm not going to hold it too much up to the camera, guys, for that reason, but I will show it you at intervals throughout the video. Moving on to the content, I'll just talk to you about what the book contains. So first of all, you get acknowledgements and then you'll get an introduction. The introduction is very simple. She talks to you about why we use magical correspondences, which I do advise you to read because it talks to you about why they're considered to be important, why she recommends using them, and what part they play in your witchcraft, which again, you know, is very handy and important. And then it goes on to tell you how this book is organised and how to interpret the entries within the book. And this gives you a full sort of rundown on the use of this book and everything contained within, which is also very handy. So if you are a beginner practitioner, I would definitely recommend reading that chapter because it is really handy and helpful, and it does help explain this book and how it's laid out. Chapter 1. Chapter 1 is called Issues, Intentions and Powers. So this is the section of the book where you're thinking of a spell that you need. So say you want a love spell, you're going to look up love. Now in chapter 1, everything is alphabetized. So you can find love really easily, and then within love, it'll say the title love, and it'll be a box of information, and then it'll be broken down into all the various types of love. So you'll have self-love and all the information contained for that. You'll have, you know, soulmate, or you'll have eternal love, or, you know, puppy love, or whatever. You know, it's all broken down like that to make it easy for you to find what you're looking for and what type of spell you want to cast. And then all the information given is everything that she knows of as a writer after years of study and fact checking that can be used for that subject. So if there's something missing, chances are it probably isn't used for love or isn't considered an item for love. That isn't to say you can't use it, it's just to say it's not traditionally used for love and isn't considered a correspondence for love, okay? So I'll just quickly show you what I mean by the boxes and how it's broken down. So this is what you can expect to find in the layout of the book. So as you can see, you get the title and then you get the boxes of information. Now that's quite little, but obviously if you look over at this page, this is quite chunky. So, you know, there's a lot of information for that there, which is introspection. So they do vary each thing you're looking at based on the information that can be used and the items that you can use as a correspondence. So some things you'll only get a little bit and other things you'll get a lot. So it just purely depends on what type of spell you're trying to do and what you're looking at. So chapter 1 is probably the chapter I've used the most and the chapter I've enjoyed the most. Chapter 2, it covers the plant kingdom. So here you'll find trees, herbs, garden plants, shrubs and miscellaneous plants. Miscellaneous plants is things like fungi, grasses, mosses and spices. So things not actively considered to be a plant or herb or a shrub. However, there's still things you will use in your craft. So you'll find sugar or salt, pepper under that section. You will find fungi, mushrooms and mosses. And some of those, she does say, potentially poisonous as a side note. So if you see that and you are planning to work with an ingredient where she's said potentially poisonous, please go ahead and further research that to make sure whatever you're handling it safely and responsibly. Wear gloves if you're not sure, and anything in your craft that you know you are allergic to. So, you know, if you're allergic to oranges, please don't work with oranges in your craft. You don't have to, guys. If a spell calls for that, go ahead and find a magical correspondence that can replace the oranges, or maybe use a picture, an image of an orange to invoke its energies instead of a physical orange. Think outside the box a little bit, but you don't physically have to handle an orange if you're allergic to it and run the risk of harming yourself. That isn't what the craft's about. Chapter 3, the mineral kingdom. So here we look at crystals, gemstones and minerals, metals and alloys, and there's also a little bit called from the sea. So this is where she talks to us about shells, and what I found interesting about that was she'd broken down the shells into all their names of all the different varieties, and then she'd given you all the things that those shells can be used for. Now, I was under the impression shells were mainly used for glamour, beauty, self-love and love magic, and as offerings to the divine, and also to make magical charms for your garden. Beyond that, I haven't really done any research or study into shells. Here, she talks about all the different uses, and it honestly made me look at my shell collection and label them properly into what each shell was and what it can be used for. So now it makes it much easier for me to use certain shells in my magic, and that I got from this book. So even after 29 years, I'm still learning new things, guys. I'm still a student, and this book taught me something new, so that's definitely a point in its favour. Chapter 4 is the animal kingdom. So here we get animals, birds, marine life. We get insects and miscellaneous and magical creatures. The miscellaneous is things like slugs and snails, things you don't necessarily think to work with, but still can be used in your craft as an animal correspondence. Then we have chapter 5, deities and other beings. So here you get a list of goddesses, a list of gods, then you get magical beings and spirits and angels. Now I'm just going to take a moment to discuss that for a moment, guys. So with the gods and goddesses, I do like how they're split into the goddesses and gods section, making it easy for you to choose whether to work with a feminine or a masculine being. I also really liked the information provided for the deities. It was very informative and there was a lot for it, but there was 2 things missing from that information for me. So I have done a video on this before where I've talked about working with a god or a goddess and how to initiate a relationship with them and how to begin asking them to be a presence in your magic, your rituals, your spellcraft. Before you do that, you need to be building a relationship with that deity and becoming friends with it, and obviously learning to understand that deity. In here, although there's a list of gods and goddesses, they don't talk to you about what offerings to make to those gods and goddesses, and I think it would have been nice if the author had gone that extra mile to include that, telling you generic offerings that that god or goddess will accept, and then any sacred offerings you can give to them, or anything you can do special on their behalf, such as donate your time, your time to an animal shelter, clear up a natural space in the world around you. Maybe they like you to fast for them days in advance. Maybe there's a certain sacred day they like you to do something. Maybe they like things left at a crossroads. All deities are different, and it would have been nice if that had been included. But also, I would have liked the alternative to that, which is what to avoid when working with that deity. So if you're working with a deity that helps people get over addictions and break alcoholism, you wouldn't offer alcohol to that deity because that could be quite insulting. So it's just about, as much as common sense plays a factor, it's also nice to have the author tell you whether that deity accepts certain offerings and what to absolutely avoid, or to, how to prepare to work with that deity. So I would have liked a bit more information there, if I'm honest. But overall, what was given was good. The other thing I want to say about that chapter is we have a list of angels. Now this is where I was again referring to the author focusing a lot on pagans and Wiccans, and her books being written in a very light, positive manner. We have a list of angels, which tells me the author assumes angels are all positive. And while we consider them to be higher light beings, not all angels are positive. They can be wrathful, and we know that from reading, the Bible and the Kabbalah. So we know that angels are not always seen as positive light beings. I kind of felt like because angels were listed, why wouldn't you list demons and demons and give the reader an option to work with angels or demons? So, it's up to you as the practitioner then. All the facts and information is given to you, and what you do with it is up to you. So, I would have liked it to have been more balanced and fairer there. Moving on to the next chapter, chapter 6, this is about astrology and time reckoning. So here we have the zodiac, the solar system, the moon phases, the full moons, the seasons, the days of the week, the times of the day, celebrations, the Ogham and the Celtic tree calendar, and the runes and the runic half months. Now I really enjoy that chapter, but what I enjoyed the most about it was the magical times of the day. So in most spiritual books, especially modern witchcraft books, they talk about planning your spells, and the planning can get really, really complicated and detailed, right down to planning which hour of the day you're going to use that's ruled by a planet and a sun sign. Now, while that is given in plenty of other books, here I liked that they simplified it and just went, why don't you work with the time of the day? So you could work with morning, noon, midnight, evening, afternoon, lunchtime. There are different times to the day, going from morning all the way to midnight. And as the day transitions, the energies transform. So here it talks about that and gives you an idea of when in the day you could cast your spell that matches the spell you're doing. And that is far easier than trying to calculate all the astrological hours of the day and plan your spell for that specific day and time, which some of us don't have the luxury for that because we're too busy. So I liked that there was an alternative, and actually in my collection I only have 2 other books that have mentioned that instead of working with astrological calculations. Now remember, old school folk magic and witchcraft, They never planned that far ahead, and they certainly didn't do spells to that complexity. Spells were usually as and when you needed them, usually cast on the spot. Sometimes they wait for the day of the week because they knew it was influenced by certain energies. Sometimes they waited for a season, but that was as far as it went. They didn't plan it down to specifically to the hour of the day. That's a modern concept, not an old one. So I personally prefer planning it the way this book recommended, and I personally think it's much easier, especially if you're a witch that's very, very busy and has a lot of other responsibilities. Moving on to the last chapter, we have chapter 7. So this is miscellaneous, anything that wasn't included in all the others that they know you're going to need and want. So here we have the elements, the directions and colours. We have energy of yin and yang, chakras, numbers, and the tarot. And tarot is split into major arcana and the minor arcana. And then to finish the book, we have an appendice list, a bibliography, and an index. And that completes your book. So overall, what do I think about this book? Would I recommend it for a beginner? Absolutely. As a beginner, you're going to have a thirst for knowledge, and you're probably going to go out of your way to buy loads of books, and you're probably going to get lost in all of the different books you can buy. There are like hundreds of books on crystals, hundreds on herbs and green magic, and you're probably going to get yourself very, very confused. This book eradicates the need for all of that and gives you a very good starting point and all the basic information you need to get going. And then as you start to figure out your craft and your path and what type of witch you want to be, so say you want to be a green witch, you can buy books then on green magic and on herbalism and working with herbs. And then you can start to master those things and become an expert green witch. So that is how I would do it, guys. I would start with something like this and then build up to things you want to know. So if you then decide you want to be a crystal healer, you would then buy maybe books on crystals and crystal healing and refine your craft a little bit. But if you're only planning to cast spells, this book is going to give you everything you need to begin with that and craft and design your spells around correspondences and include correspondences in your spells, okay? So I absolutely recommend this for a beginner. Do I recommend it for an advanced practitioner? Yes, I do, but as an advanced practitioner myself, there are a few things I think you guys will end up doing that I've been doing. I ended up cross-referencing a number of things that I've read in this book that I thought were questionable. I haven't found anything incorrect yet. You know, at the point I'm filming this video, obviously I've only had this for a month. That may change, and if it does, I will leave a comment and let you guys know if I found anything incorrect. But at the moment, I haven't found anything incorrect. It is correct information to my knowledge so far. But I have found there's a load of gaps, and it's not a very balanced book, and it's not written in a fair way that gives you all the information for you to make an informed decision on what you want to use in your craft. It is tailored to pagans and Wiccans, but any practitioner can use this, so long as you bear in mind there is information missing, and you're unlikely to get information in this book about dark magic, okay? The other thing I've been doing is I've been writing notes in this book, so there are pencil marks in it. I have been putting sticky notes in it with notes to myself and things I want to check or look up, and I've been cutting things out of, you know, magazines or printing things off the internet that are valuable pieces of information and inserting them in this book, so I have all the information in one tome, which is helpful to me and my craft. So I can see plenty of advanced practitioners doing exactly the same thing. Do I think the book is easy to read, understand, and laid out in a very good way? Absolutely. This author really thought about it. She gives you an excellent introduction on how to use this book, and it is very easy once you get started. And because of the boxing format, that makes it super easy, and it's not confusing at all. And I have used this book quite a lot these days. I didn't think I was going to, but knowing it's there on hand, I've used it quite a lot. I would say I've used it, you know, twice every week since I've had it, maybe more. So I do enjoy this book. I do think it's a very good book. However, because of the missing information and because it's tailored towards pagans and Wiccans, which excludes darker magic or certain lists of information that could have been included in this, for me, I'm only going to score it as a 7.5 out of 10. It would have been higher if the author had thought, I'm going to make this neutral, give all of the information and let the reader decide what they want to use in their craft, but that hasn't been done here. The only way I would change my score on this book to a higher score is if the author was writing another version of this, but for, say, darker materials or correspondences, or, you know, for things that weren't included in this, or that, you know, this was already quite a big book, so maybe she thought it's too full and decided, I'm gonna make another one with all the stuff that wasn't included in this, such as working with bones or entrails or anything along those lines. Okay, so that completes my book review. I do think it's worth getting for your collection, guys, and I don't regret it at all. I do think it's worth every penny, and I hope you have enjoyed what I've said about this book. If you do have any questions for me, please leave a comment. You can contact me via email or any of my business pages, which is Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. All the links are below. If you'd like to offer light and love to this channel, you can do that through Patreon. Thank you very much to those who choose to do that. I do appreciate it. And if you would like me to do any other book reviews, or you'd like to ask me about any experiences I've had with this book, again, just leave me a comment, guys. I'm happy to answer them, but it may take me a while because I'm quite a busy person, so just bear with me, guys. But thank you very much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up and click the bell so YouTube will tell you when my next video comes out, and I will speak to you all very soon. As always, take care of yourselves, guys. Blessed be.